Hi, Vincent. It's always pleasure to have you. Welcome to yet another demo of Open Source Spotlight with you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been my third or fourth, it feels like. We've been hanging out over the last five
I
years.
don't know. It's been certainly not the first one. So thanks a lot for doing this. It's always pleasure to welcome you here because you always work on such cool projects. And recently, I was going through my LinkedIn feed and noticed that you work at Marimo. It's called Marimo, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
everyone is talking about that. Like, I regularly do workshops and I use Jupyter there, and everyone in comments like, okay, like this is so, I don't know, 2015, like you don't use this anymore. Like,
You
cool.
boomer.
Yeah. So I feel very old. And yeah, so maybe,
Sure.
well,
So
anyways,
what I'm going to do
tell
now
us
is I'm
more
going
about
to
that. Yeah.
I'm going to give you a demo in the hope that I'm going to be able to convince you. As I give you the demo, feel free to ask me questions. The only thing I wanted to mention, which I did think was a cool thing, like I was telling people, like, hey, I'm going to be on this little show that you're doing, and one of our engineers actually said that he joined one of your trainings like 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay.
So he was kind of like, oh, that's so cool. Like I did a couple of courses there. So it's like kind of a full circle thing. Like my colleagues are actually pushing me to also
Uh-huh.
sort of show up here and do
Okay.
this. So that's always nice. But anyway,
That's
I,
really good.
I'm
Tell that person hi.
we'll definitely do. Anyway, so I'm in a terminal and I am about to start up this tool called Marimo. Now, first things first, right? Like we have this tool called UVX at our disposal, which is amazing because what you can do with UVX is you can just say, hey, here's a command line tool, and then you don't have to install anything. You just always run this automatically. And what I'm just going to go ahead and do is I'm going to call UVX Marimo
It's
edit.
like NPX, right?
Sorry? Yeah, so it's from UV. So it's basically
Yeah.
UV just looked at what the node people were doing and said, hey, that feels like a good habit. Let's maybe do that. And yeah, so you can just call Marimo edit and you don't have to have a virtual environment around. It's just
So
gonna
I don't need to run UV or pip install Marimo, but if I wish, I can do this, right?
you can yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but this is a shortcut instead of writing pip install Marimo and then Marimo whatever. Yeah, I just do UVX Marimo and that's it, right? I don't need to do
Yes.
anything else.
Assuming UV
Okay.
is around, that ought to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to add this sandbox flag, which is also going to do something with UV and Marimo. But we'll get to those details in a bit. For now, I'm just going to start up a notebook. And then let me just, I had it open here. I'm just going to refresh this window. This is what the notebook environment looks like inside of Marimo. So you've got cells, right? Nothing too weird and different. We've got tab completion things that we can go ahead and use. And, we've got these cells at our disposal, just like Jupyter, you can shift enter and you can add things together. And also just like Jupyter, you can define variables and you can see that output is there. So far,
Mm.
nothing too different. Also, just like Jupyter, I can hit escape, I can move up a couple of cells, and I can enter again. This was added as a recent feature, by the way, so we're pretty
Mhm.
proud of having some good defaults here. But you can see that as I try to change a cell, the cell turns yellow. Right? You can see that the state of that cell is now different. And if I were now to run this cell, so Command Enter, then you're also going to notice that the cell below, this one, automatically updates. So just to show the demo one more time, I'm going to make x equal to 100, and the sum below now is 101. So it's able to cascade forward.
Okay. That just
That,
blowed my mind.
well, yeah, well, it should, because if
Okay.
you're used to Jupyter, this is very, very different, right?
Yeah, it is. I was going
So
to ask like how, okay, you can do this and that, but how is it different from Jupyter? And I didn't even have a chance to ask it because you just showed.
yeah, so this is
But like, can it
pretty
not
fundamental.
trigger like a huge chain of kind of reaction?
Yes, that's I mean, so I'm going to up the ante with one extra thing, and then I'm going to explain the details under the hood. So like one thing we also have in Marimo is we have these UI elements. So from the MO library that is on top, right, I can import a slider, and I can show you a pretty slider. But the thing that's kind of cool now is I can say, oh, by the way, the value of that slider, that is now going to be equal to X. And if I were to now grab my mouse again and move the slider around, you can again see that stuff just automatically updates, basically. And one of the key things in Marimo is that you can combine UI elements together with normal Python code. So you kind of have a notebook environment that also does the Streamlit thing. Like that's one way to think about it.
Mhm.
But
So
the more
if I
in
have a
yeah.
plot, it would be automatically redrawn.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. And we're going to go full circle on that one in just a moment. But the main thing I want to explain now first is like, how does this even work in the first place? Because it's a cool demo, but there is a pretty substantial consequence of the way that all of this is set up. Because let's now think about the perspective of this cell over here, right? So you can see that there's like actual lines under these variables. So it's able to detect that those things are defined somewhere in some other cell. So this cell is going like, hey, if I want to evaluate, I need X around. Where is X? Oh, it's defined in this cell. Okay, so then there's like a DAG dependency, if you will. Oh, but X is saying I need slider around in order to update. So then this cell also becomes kind of like a parent to the cell down below here. And hopefully by looking at it from the perspective of this DAG, right, you can also imagine, oh, if a cell ever updates, we just follow the DAG. And it also means that there's some sort of an independency where, oh, whenever I update this guy, I don't have to rerun this cell again because that's like independent. And if you're curious to see this like for realsies, one thing you can also do is you can go here to this Explore Dependencies tab, and you can actually just zoom in a little bit. And I think if you have the horizontal screen, oh, we might have found a bug. Yeah, that's a UI bug. I will talk to the team about that. But normally you would see lines between these cells and you can see all the dependencies appear. But this is very much a DAG kind of approach, but it also comes with a consequence, namely you can't do stuff like this. You can't say X is equal to 1 here, because now you suddenly have got this situation where there's two cells that both claim that they know what X is. And this is also like a source of bugs in Jupyter, right? Like you've got the same variable defined in multiple cells, and suddenly
Yeah.
the order in which you run the cells really matters. The whole point of Marimo is that we will figure out the order in which the cells have to run for you. And if there's any inconsistencies, we will basically barf error messages in your face, which hopefully will reduce the number of bugs. And like another thing you also can't do is you can't do these reassignments. So you can't do things like x plus equals 1, because then again, we would have to assume in what order the cells have to run. We really force you to be strict about that, with the idea that if you are, there's going to be less bugs, and we get the benefit of, oh, it's a DAG, we can do this automatic updating as well. So that's basically the design decision behind Marimo. Part of the story here is, of course, that Jupyter wants to be language agnostic. It wants to allow for different languages altogether. The attitude of Marimo is we can just be really bespoke to just Python stuff, basically. But this is a rule. Like,
How many people use Jupyter for something else than Python?
I mean, well, I was around when that thing got created, right? It was called Jupyter because of Julia, Python, and
Yeah,
R,
but
right? Like it
like
was
realistically, have you seen people using Julia in Jupyter
not, I
ever?
mean, no. So fun fact, so the Julia people actually came up with their own notebook environment. I think it was called Pluto. It was called Pluto. And that was also really reactive. Like the way that that was designed was just super different. And Marimo took a lot of inspiration from it, just like observable notebooks. But I agree. Like nowadays it's quite clear that Jupyter is like a Python thing, but it wasn't back in the day when they started it. I remember kernels for Scala, like
Yeah, that was a thing, yeah.
and the whole thing with Marimo is because we try to take this fresh approach of like, let's just be Python only, you kind of get some extra benefits. But a few things about this. Of course, it's great for interactive things that things can automatically update. You don't always want that. If you're doing a heavy compute thing, then you don't want cells to automatically run big
Yeah,
compute
because
loads,
I
right?
was imagining a use case when I have a training script for a deep learning
There you go.
model, right? And
Yeah.
then I change learning rate, so I want to be careful with the chain effect I have,
Well,
right?
so there's two things that we can do. Like one thing is we've got user interface elements like a button. So you can do things like only when this button is pressed, do I run these
Yeah.
extra cells? We've got control mechanisms that way. There's also this thing at the bottom over here. Like you can see over here, we've got this auto run setting. I can also click it, and that turns the notebook into lazy mode. And what that basically means is whenever I change the slider value, oh, you can see that these two cells need to update their color changes, but it doesn't run
That's
until I
convenient.
explicitly give you permission for it. So we just give you different control mechanisms. You can put a valve anywhere in that DAG if it were. But
And
yeah,
then I
this is
see this thing on in the corner, in the right bottom corner.
yeah. So this
This
is play everything. That's the play button for everything effectively.
it's
We've also
convenient.
got a stop button and an undo and like an undo button. Like those are all things that we've got, right? Uh,
So if we talk about this use case for deep learning training, for training a deep learning model. Then I change my learning rate, and then I hit the play button, and then I go get a
Yep.
coffee, right?
That's one way to go about it. You can also imagine like a two-step approach where maybe you change a few hyperparameters, then you train like an epoch with like very little data just to make sure that we've not like broken anything, just as another safety mechanism, and then you move on.
Yeah.
One thing I really like to do when you sometimes you have these notebooks where you chain things from LLMs together. So then there's like a text input, maybe an image input, and then output of an LLM comes out. And when that looks fine, then you move that image on to the next step, right? You can also use it to build workflows. Another thing that I think is pretty cool is this is the edit view. I can also hit this button and then do the app view. And then I just basically remove all the cells except for the outputs of the cells. Oh, in this case, I have to like actually set it to auto run again. So then you can see the user interface element of it. So this is like the Streamlit thing. Another thing that's just kind of interesting is you can also do a grids thing where you really just take the outputs of these cells and just sort of make your own dashboard out of it. That's also something you can go ahead and do. But we don't have a whole lot of time, so I want to show some other features as well. But so far, like just in terms of, oh, it's a DAG, that's mainly going to be the learning curve. Like it takes you a good half hour of like, oh, I can't redefine DF. Well, that's a bad habit anyway. Like there's a little bit of that you have to go through in the beginning. But once you're there, I have found that it's just going to save you a whole lot of bugs as well. Anyway, some other quick features that I want to mention is that we do, of course, also have so this is, I think, another thing that's just kind of cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm from draw data, which is a library that I made. I'm going to import this thing called a scatter widget. Just going to run it. It'll detect automatically that draw data is a missing package. And it's going to tell you like, hey, do you want to install it? And do you want to install the latest version or like whatever version? If there are optional dependencies, it's also going to show it, but I'm going to go ahead and hit install. You
I
can
think
see
you demoed draw data
Oh, it's one of my
a
favorite
year
packages.
or two ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. But the really cool thing of what just happened now is actually back at the terminal. So I'm just going to close this notebook now, and I'm just going to look at that demo.py file. So this is what the Marimo notebook looks like under the hood. It is really just a Python script. So you can see that every cell is basically this Python function that's just decorated, right? You can also see that these different cells.
That's very convenient.
Yeah, so we don't store the outputs of cells, by the way. That also helps make this reproducible. You can also see that we've got like a layout file, this JSON file that we're pointing to. But this is the whole Jupyter thing, so the whole notebook thing. At the bottom, we've got the if name equals main. So you could also write bash scripts in here, but the really cool thing is on top. So you know that UV has this like lovely feature where, oh, you can just add these comments on top, this TOML stuff, and you can say like there's a specific Python version, and these are the dependencies that I got. And that's everything that UV needs to sandbox this script, right?
I had no idea.
Oh, this is amazing. So UV, this is like a Python spec. So it's not just UV that can make use of this, but you can add this to a Python script. And basically, you don't need the requirements.txt file anymore. You just add the dependencies inline to a file.
And
And if you did,
PyPerf right? This is what UV uses. You don't need it anymore, or any of these config files.
so for scripts, you can just add it inline, yes. And
Okay.
the thing is that if you were to use, let's just quit this. So like if I were to run UV Marimo again, Marimo under the hood can use UV to automatically install these dependencies for you and put it in a separate sandbox. But there is also this other thing that we can do with this. I'm just gonna take over a session. That's kind of fine. Like just as a fun little demo, like a little party trick. There is this lovely little package called Typer. So from Typer, import Typer. Yes, let's install that. It's Sebastian Ramirez, the guy that made Fast API, also made this command line tool. And what I can do is I can do Typer app equals Typer. I think this is the thing you do. And then you do something like Typer app at, and then dot command, right? And then we do hello, name, colon, string. And then I could do something like return. I have to print, I think. Hello, name. Something like that, I think, will be normal. And then I can do a similar thing for goodbye. Goodbye, right?
Did you just press Ctrl D to have
Yep.
multiple cursors?
Yep. We've got tons of useful shortcuts. We also have a command palette, by the way. So like if you want to see all the shortcuts, you just hit Command K for the command palette. All the shortcuts you see over here, you can edit to your heart's content. We even have VI mode. Like that's also a thing that we are happy to
I'm
have.
not a fan, but I know many people are very
It's
religious
either
about that.
yes, you're either in the camp or you're not.
Yeah.
But anyway, like one other thing I can do here now is I can say like, hey, Marimo app meta, I can check the mode that this notebook is running in. So we just saw that we can run this in app mode as well. We are now in edit mode, but one thing I can also do is I can say like, if you are in script mode, right? If you are in script mode, then I would really love it if you could just run the typer app for me. If I now go back to the terminal, what I can now, again, it is still just a Python file, right? This guy. And you can see the typer is attached as well. So that means I can also do UV run, point to that demo.py file, and it needs to install a few things, but okay, I can attach the help command, but you can see that I can define a typer app inside of a notebook. And the really cool thing is that I could also turn that same Python file into a command line script if I wanted to. So you can come up with these notebooks where, oh, there's some user interface elements that the user has to fill in. Oh, but if it's running as a script, oh, then they have to be passed along from the command line. And I've even done demos where you can start a fast API app this way as well. So like, because it's a Python file, you can just do Python stuff with it again. And
Mhm.
that's super neat.
Yeah.
So again, I can do hello Vincent, right? And then it says hello Vincent. And like, again, my easily my favorite feature of Typer. And that's like a thing that click is cool, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, don't immediately rewrite your whole thing just because I say Typer is cool. But one thing that's awesome about Typer is that I can also just use the function as normal inside of the Python notebook as well. So yeah, another feature that we've got, but that's going to take me too much time to explain, is you can also define functions inside of this notebook such that you can also export it and other files can import it. So I have a couple of these web apps where, oh, there's a little bit of machine learning thing that I got to use. And in order to debug that thing, I really need to have charts around. Okay, that one function is then exported to Flask, but I can still have my normal Python file as a notebook checked into my code base.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sounds
so yeah,
convenient.
so far, all the engineers in the crowd are going like, oh, that's nice.
Mhm.
But the real kicker comes from this demo. So I'm just going to make a quick widget, MOUI, any widget. Let's just get that scatter widget going. You've probably seen this before, but it's basically just a little thing that lets me draw. So, I can draw some blue points.
So I Python widgets work in Marimo, I assume, because this thing works.
They don't. So this is not an
You don't.
IPython widget. This is an any widget. An any widget is very much like an IPython widget. It's just that any widgets also work in Jupyter and in Colab and in VS Code and
See.
in Marimo. It's kind of this new standard
I
of making
understand.
widgets.
Okay.
Um, but one thing I can now also do is I can say, well, let's just turn on column mode. And what I can then do is, because I like to maybe have a little bit more space for the things that I'm about to show. So I can, like the order in which the cells appear doesn't really matter, right? So I can also just say, well, let's just have a few columns and like I could just rearrange these things such that I can nicely draw here. And what I can then also do is I can say, hey, let's get that widget and let's say the data as a polars data frame. As polars, there we go. And then polars has to be installed. Fine. And I think we have to, and now it's going to complain about arrow. Oh no, that's not going to do that. But again, like when I draw over here, you can see that the data frame on the right just updates. You can see the charts update. The thing is also just really nice about this widget, by the way, is it
Where are
comes with,
these charts are coming from? Wait, is
yeah, so
it from
that's,
Polars
yeah,
or this is something that Marimo is doing?
no, so this is,
This is a usual pandas data frame, right? Or what is it?
yeah, so but this is a polars data frame. It doesn't really matter. So this is just the way we show a data frame. It's not a static HTML table. We just give you an interactive widget. So like one thing you can do is you can say like, oh, you want to explore the columns, and you can click around. I have to install Altair if you want to see a chart, but we just give you a widget of a data frame that lets you just quickly explore the data frame in line. So you don't have to write extra code yourself to just do this basic descriptive statistics stuff.
Hmm.
That's a thing we
That's
can
cool.
build in. And not only that, you can do sorting, you can do filtering, you can do all those things. My favorite feature here is this search icon. When you click it, you can like, I don't know, type in some number and it's just going to do a filter across all the rows and all the columns or over some string, right? That's also a nice feature. But the real cool thing I wanted to show is I can also just assign this to a variable again, like df, right? And what I can now do is I can say, well, select star from df limit and then 5. This is, of course, not going to run because this is a Python cell, but I can turn this into a SQL cell instead. And then it does work. So if you want this stuff to run in memory, we are using DuckDB under the hood, and you can just pass it a data frame as you would normally. Install PyArrow as well. And PyArrow is kind of annoying because sometimes you have to restart the notebook because of the way the dependencies are loaded. That's an arrow thing more than a Marimo thing. Yeah. But if I were now to, yeah, MO, that's good. Escape, and then move all the way here. Oh, and I need to actually draw the data, some data now. But now you can see that I'm able to run SQL natively in here. And the cool
You
thing
didn't
here,
even need to execute anything, right? So you just drew and then boom, you have
yep,
the.
yep. Because, and again, that's a chaining thing. Well, in this case, it doesn't update because the value is just the same. But I draw that updates that cell. Any cells that depend on it then also automatically update. And I think, you can see on the side over here, it says 10 milliseconds. If I draw a little bit here, it now says 9 milliseconds. So the cell does rerun. It's just that the first 5 rows don't change.
Okay.
So if you're interested, this is a SQL cell. You can also attach data sources. So every data frame that you see over here is a variable that you can explore, but you can also attach like Postgres or whatever database connection you like. The thing that's really cool, and this is, I think, the main feature that we've been working on last month, but the thing that's really cool with having this data frame is that we also have LLM support. So you can do things like how many rows does, and then at, and then you can point to the data frame. And variable, let me zoom in on that one actually. So variables, you can, we actually know what the representation in memory is of each variable you've got in Python, right? So what we can do is we can inject a schema here. So we can tell Claude, oh, by the way, this data frame, you don't have to type it yourself, but it has these columns. Those columns have these types, and here's like 5 rows of examples. And that makes it way better at making the SQL thing you want to generate with Claude. So how many rows does df have? Question mark. And of course, I have to install Anthropic, which is fine.
And you have to have Anthropic API key in your
Yes, 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 yes.
environment,
But you can
right?
see that it's starting to think, and it says it has these many rows. It also has columns, so it's able to
And can
actually
it also
inspect.
create a cell? Like, let's
Yep.
say I want to know how many rows does this data frame have, but I want
Yeah. So
to.
make an Altair chart for at the F. I want the X and Y values as a scatter chart.
This is
And
one of the features I like from. There is this startup called Sphinx, and also in Google Colab notebooks, you have Gemini support, right? Where you just type in a few things and then it starts creating these cells. This is so
yeah,
convenient.
so this just works. One thing this is like new, as in we only have added this last week. You can also just connect Claude Code and use it
Uh-huh.
directly in here. We have a nice little prompt that we inject into Claude Code to make sure it understands Marimo notebooks very well. But yeah, let's just see what happens when I run this. Okay, I seem to have some sort of a chart here that just renders. That's kind of nice. But let me do this one final demo at the end over here. So we have this Altair helper that we can add to a scatter chart. And let's just not make this interactive, and let's call this thing chart equals, and then chart, something like that, right? And now I can make a selection in this chart. And what I can do is I can ask for the value of that chart. And if I zoom out now, you're going to see that whenever I make a new selection in this chart, that then the data frame also updates. So you've probably had this situation where you've looked at a chart and you're kind of like, oh, I want to select this. But then you'd have to write the code for it. By blending UI elements with your Python code, you can just do stuff like that. And also in this case, one thing I do appreciate, like the LLM, by the way, oh yeah, it started at 0, but the LM is just able to make some of these charts for you just like that, basically, right? Um, so
You don't need to remember the syntax. For me, when I work with Matplotlib or Seaborn or whatever, I always have to Google syntax. It's so
the
annoying. I can't seem to remember this.
I actually practice those things with flashcards, but I'm not average, I suppose.
Right.
Like that's the thing that I like to do. No, so I do think that there are these moments when you still want to do the syntax yourself. Like for polars, sometimes it's just easier to just write the query than to explain what the query should do. And it just sometimes is. But I do agree, like SQL, I can do it myself a bit of SQL, but that stuff is just really hard to remember. Also because the syntax is very much inside to outside and then back outside and inside again. It's very nested. But anyway, this is like the very short version that I can give you, like what is cool about Marimo. It is very much Python focused. We can really blend user interface elements with your Python code. And with this advent of, oh, we've got LLMs at our disposal now, we're not quite there yet, right? But you can imagine or dream of a future where, um, like this widget that I've got over here that allows me to draw, maybe we can just vibe code them on the spot as well. Like, we're definitely
Yeah.
not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. I do want to emphasize that. I still make these myself, and I still need Claude, like I still need to tell Claude what direction it shouldn't go into. But you can imagine for some analyses, like, oh yeah, let's just have a very specific widget that can interact with the UI and Python code in a way that we really like. And maybe we can generate those on the fly as well.
Yeah, I think with this new browser from Perplexity, how is it called? I don't remember. Um, but the browser has access. Oh, first there is an LLM, and then there is a browser, and you can control the browser through LLM like a normal person would. So it opens up so many possibilities for automation, but also for feedback loop to LLM, because the LLM can generate the widget, then it can look at the result and it can iterate, right?
Well, I mean, so one thing that I'm currently experimenting with, especially with this Claude thing that we've got on the side here, like Claude can actually edit files outside of the current notebook, right? So I can have this normal JavaScript project with some Python code for the any widget itself, and then when it's made an iteration, I can reload the notebook and confirm if it did the right thing. So there's all these moments that we can rethink what you can do in a notebook. And just to give like that's like maybe a final example, like the thing that really makes me the most excited about Marimo is that you can just rethink things now. So let me just yeah, so from dice kit import dice. It's a library. I'm just gonna go ahead and install it.
Saves
Yep.
so much time. I don't need to type this anymore. That's really cool.
Okay, so normally in Python, this is the representation of a uh, thing, right? Like it comes from the era where we had terminals. Like, oh, this is the string that represents the thing I'm looking at. But if nowadays, if I want to make like a library that represents a dice, I can also have an object that just, oh, this is a chart because this is the probability distribution of a dice object, right? And what I can also do is I can also just say, oh, let's just, I don't know, do a plus here. And then we get a new dice because we add two dice together. Oh, and new slider, right? We can just add a slider in here. Once again, do something like this. And we add a new slider. And then I can say, hey, the slider dot value now goes in here. And oh, lo and behold, why is this not up to, oh, new slider, new underscore slider. Yep. There we go. Oh, I just have a way more interactive way of thinking about code. Like if you can mix and match UI elements, oh, you can actually think about what should this object actually look like, because that'll be the way to interact with it. It's not just code, it's like also UI and LLMs. And it's kind of that thing, like something about this lets me dream again. That's kind of the thing that I really love about it.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
it's
can
really
really
cool.
I can really rethink the way that I used to work and come up with something that is really bespoke, interactive. And
Hmm.
because the hard part of our field is still, oh, do we actually understand the story in our data set? It does finally feel like we're getting new tools at our disposal that really help us solve the UI problem in machine learning, if that makes sense.
Okay, so your recommendation is that I should use Marimo in my courses, right?
Yes. I mean, I've worked for Marimo now, so how could I not tell you that?
It's a little bit not objective, right?
Yes, there's two extra things. If you're interested, we currently have a whole bunch of free compute available as well. So we have this environment called MoLab. The number one ticket last year on Colab was to add Marimo support. So we added just a Marimo environment that is in the cloud. So that's something you can totally go ahead and use. And another thing, if I just were to look for the DiceKit library on GitHub, Marimo could also be deployed as a WASM notebook. So
As a what?
WASM, so WebAssembly.
With WebAssembly.
So
Okay.
So people actually found a way to get Python running inside of WebAssembly. And let's set the theme to light. So the docs for DiceKit that I just showed you is Python running fully in the browser on a static website on GitHub Pages. So you can also come up with some of these demos where you don't need a Python backend anymore. The whole thing can just run in the browser.
Yeah,
Doesn't work for
what a
every package out
wonderful,
there.
yeah, what a wonderful world we live in, right?
But yeah, it is definitely a new age of Python tools. It feels to me very similar to we used to have pip and now we have UV, and it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it definitely feels like we can dream again. That's
How
the
many
feeling.
people are working on this project?
You mean engineers or like the company?
Like in general, company, how large is the company, and how many engineers are working on it?
We have 7 people full-time, one part-time at the moment, and the engineering team is 4 people. I'm I'm a little bit more on the growth side of things personally, but I build a lot of plugins and integrations, and that's like the thing that I typically do a bit more of. Like I'm not writing the TypeScript for Marimo itself, but I am um like, oh, we found a nice way to get it working with Django. Oh, that's super sweet. Oh, I actually found a nice way to get it working with Airflow last week. So that's make a little plugin, make a little demo out of that. I still do some commits to the um, code base. Like a thing that I really care about, I have RSI issues. So one thing I got working last week is um, I have this one button on my keyboard, and when I press it, everything that's clickable has like this thing that turns it into a keyboard shortcut. Okay, that's like a typical thing that Vincent will make sure works nicely inside of Marimo. So like all the buttons now actually are a little bit more friendly to people who have RSI issues. Like I
Uh-huh.
do things like that, but like
Okay.
the internals is not something I typically touch on a daily basis.
And do you accept external contributions?
Oh, totally. Do check. So do submit the issue, join our Discord, and talk to it with us first, because we do like to make sure we agree with the direction.
Hmm.
And also sometimes it's just way easier for the person who already made a database integration to just do that in a few hours than to sort of
Yeah.
do that with a community member. But yeah, if you go to our GitHub, Marimo team, Marimo, if I were to scroll down, 16,000 stars at the moment. And
Yeah.
we've had like almost 200 contributors now. So like
That's cool.
the my favorite chart when it comes to this is just the click pie. You can see where it's a rough estimate, but we grow in terms of downloads like about 6% per week now. So like that's we're definitely like growing in popularity.
Now with this video, it will be more.
Yes, we're gonna grow even more exponential. The other
Yeah.
the other thing we can also do is you type Marimo Python into YouTube. You will also find like the Marimo channel. We make about 3 releases a week. So if you want to be like keeping in touch about all the features that we make, we have a short a day now, basically, of like a feature that you're gonna be able to use. So
I
we're
see you there, right? So that's
yes,
what you do.
this is also a thing that I do. We try to have like one really cool demo video each week, and like one new feature that you can try out or a new thing that we find out
That's
each
a
day.
very decent amount of views you have
We
for
have
this
we have
amount of
half a million.
subscribers.
We have half a we started this like 7 months ago. We are almost at 600K views right now. So this is also um, people seem to like our content because people seem to like
Yeah,
our features. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
super cool to see.
That's really cool. Okay, last thing I want to ask before we wrap up.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for anyone who is watching this?
On what level? On what thing?
Life advice, coding advice, AI advice, I don't
Okay,
know.
I'll keep it a bit on the meta then. In the age of, oh, there's new tools and we've got LLMs and like, oh, what should I do? Um, the one thing that like we still need people to dream, if that makes sense. Like, it's one thing to have an LLM at your disposal and to have Marimo and UV at your disposal. But the thing that I made um, when I saw Marimo, I was like, oh, I want to have a library where I actually see the probability distribution. I can see things move around. And a lot of that comes from a spark of creativity. So if we don't have to worry about syntax so much anymore, then maybe we have to be reflecting and making sure that we're still creative, which means that maybe the thing we have to get better at is dreaming. And maybe
Yeah,
that's going to be a skill.
yeah. Like in the age of LLMs, that helps.
It's not a bad attitude to have, I would say. So that's
Yeah.
a thing to maybe think about, and also to maybe give like a final example of this. So there was a moment when UV came out, right? And people were sort of all excited. Every influencer out there was like, "Oh my God, it's quicker installs. That's the thing that UV does." The first thing I did instead is I made this new library that lets you run a Python function in another Python environment. And the reason why you can consider that even is because UV really is that quick. But the folks over at UV didn't come up with this. All the influencers that regurgitate the docs didn't come up with this. It was just me thinking like, oh, it's a new tool. Can I do something creative with it? And I would love for more people to do that and for those blog posts and YouTube videos to be more on the internet. Because right now it really feels like we're all just regurgitating. What we need is actual creativity.
Yeah, I am always very slow to adopt these new tools. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad, but only recently I switched to UV in my projects. But now
Being a
I
little
love
bit
it so much because it's so fast.
being a bit conservative is also like a healthy thing, I think, right? But the main thing I want is people trying to actually go further. Like, it's one thing that we've got UV and it's quicker, but because it's quicker, you can also do new things that you couldn't do before. And that's, I think, the most interesting thing for people to start thinking about. But yeah,
Hey,
Marimo, I'm employed there, so don't expect me to say anything besides it's great, but it's great. Give it a spin, join our Discord. We have all the best memes, and it's also the best place for people to like do a one-on-one with me. If people want to see demos that are missing from our YouTube, also let me know. I'm a pretty approachable guy on the internet, so
yeah, I confirm that 100% because from our first interview, wow, was it 4 years ago, if not more?
five, I think.
Five.
Yeah,
Yeah, time flies. Um,
I'm pretty
Vincent, you're
approachable.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
thanks a lot.
approachable.
Okay,
Cool.
that's all we have time for today. Amazing demo. Thank you, Vincent. And everyone who is watching this, give them a star. Try Marimo. I'll also give them a try. It's really nice to see this demo, and I want to try it even more now after watching this. So thanks a lot.
Sweet. Thanks. Thanks for having me.